Hello everyone. Today's exciting topic: why do sulfur plants light on fire? Why do sulfur plants explode?
Welcome to the Experts Network.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Gerald Bomey here again, principal engineer with 30 plus years of experience in sulfur recovery. One of the most common questions we get throughout the year is, why did my sulfur plant light on fire? Why did my sulfur plant blow up? Happens a lot more commonly than you would think. What I'd like to do in this video is explain to you how that occurs. In future videos, we'll talk about how to prevent it, but understanding the actual mechanisms is important. First off, why do sulfur plants light on fire so often? There's three different ways that fires occur in sulfur plants. The first way is that sulfur itself, sulfur vapor, sulfur liquid, autoignites at temperatures above 230 degrees C, about 450 degrees F. Where do we have sulfur at those temperatures? In your first catalyst bed. The pores of the catalyst are full of sulfur vapor above that temperature. Second catalyst beds near or above that temperature. Waste heat boiler outlets, some condenser inlets. We have liquid sulfur above those sort of temperatures. If you let air into the process, usually this is during a trip or a shutdown or something like that, if you let air into one of those parts of the plant that has sulfur above 230 C, 450 F, it automatically lights on fire and starts burning that vessel down. Worst case, here's an example of a vessel that got so hot during a fire, it melted the I-beams, it melted the vessel, all of the TIs were fully off scale. So that's the first way we light them on fire, autoignition above those temperatures. Many sulfur plant fires, however, don't occur at high temperatures, but at normal ambient temperatures. How does that happen? It happens because there's a pyrophoric material in the plant that acts as an ignition source. The pyrophoric material is generated wherever solid sulfur sits on the carbon steel piping or vessels in a plant. If you let a part of your plant get cold enough where solid sulfur is there, you'll make this pyrophoric iron sulfide. And then when you expose that iron sulfide to air, it acts as an ignition source no matter what the temperature is. This is an example of something we've seen many times. A startup of a sulfur plant, things are warming up. They get to the melting point of sulfur, and all of a sudden the temperatures go through the roof. The melted sulfur flows away, exposes some of that iron sulfide to air. It acts the ignition source to then burn down the rest of the sulfur that's there. Third way that we can light sulfur plants on fire is in the tail gas unit. If you have an amine-based tail gas unit, the catalyst you use in that tail gas unit, the active form of cobalt and molybdenum sulfide, is self-heating or reactive with air. At colder temperatures, not too bad, but once we get above perhaps 100 degrees C, 210 degrees F, air will start to react with that faster and faster. At even higher temperatures, that catalyst again can burn down in front of your eyes. So for all three of those areas, you put air in there, whether it's autoignition, whether it's pyrophoric material, whether it's self-heating TGU catalyst, put air on them, that's what starts the fire. Let's move over to explosions in sulfur plants. How do they occur? Probably the least common one, but it's worth bringing up anyway, is sulfur dust. Fine, small particles of sulfur, the smaller they are, the easier it is to blow them up. In fact, fine particles of sulfur have one of the lowest ignition energies. LELs, lower ignition limits, or lower explosive limits, lower ignition temperatures. If you have anywhere in the plant where you have sulfur dust, it may be a forming facility like this. It may just be some sulfur spilled on the ground that you're out cleaning up with a pickaxe and a shovel. that if that sulfur dust gets any source of ignition, a spark, it can blow up in the plant. The most common explosion method, however, is from H2S in air. H2S has one of the widest explosive limits, from 3.2% up to 45% in air. The ignition source is going to blow that up. Where do we get H2S and air together? The liquid sulfur that you make in a sulfur plant comes out of every one of your rundowns with a certain amount of H2S in it. That H2S comes out in the storage tanks, in the pits, in the loading areas, the trucks, the rail cars. It can easily build up to more than 3.2% in those areas. And then any source of ignition, and there goes your sulfur pit, your storage tank, your truck, whatever is in it. How do we avoid that? We either have to get rid of the H2S, we have to get rid of the air, we have to get rid of the ignition source. This is something that every sulfur plant needs to do to prevent those explosions in those areas. That, however, will be a future video you'll have to log back on again in a couple of weeks. So that's it for now. We hope that gave you a little bit of understanding about how fires and explosions occur in sulfur plants. If you liked this video, if you found it informative, please register for our channel. Send us some comments, questions. Remember to ring that bell, and we hope to see you again in a future video.